How much time do you need to write your book? If you've ever thought of writing your book, this is a type of question that might have occurred in your mind. Why does it take somebody a couple of months, and for other writers it can take years or even decades? There are also a lot of tips from different writers on how to write faster or be more productive, or whatever tips or advice that can help you to save your time. But is there any universal formula or golden standard for writing books? Absolutely not. Writing, creating, and art are individual things, so someone can write 2,000 words per day for 6 days in a row without getting a burnout, while others can only dedicate a couple of hours per week and as a result do not write that much. So today I wanted to share my experience with 20-60-20 rule, the structure I use to go from idea to finished manuscript. But before we start, greetings stranger, my name is Katie. I'm a writer and a narrative game designer. So here we talk about fantasy, books, writing, games. So if you're interested in any of these things, you're welcome here. Every author has their own unique working style. Some don't even use a plan at all. As for me, I feel much more comfortable when I divide my work into clear, visible milestones. A lack of visual progress can feel frustrating and demotivating, so I came up with a simple rule. I split my writing process into 3 phases: preparation, drafting, and editing. Later, I break each of those phases into smaller steps. And those steps I can also divide into even smaller steps. So, you got it. The 20-60-20 rule is, of course, approximate. For instance, when I was working on Magic Bones, it's a sort of a dark fairy tale fantasy. The preparation stage took only about 10% of the whole process. That's because I'd already done some early world building for it in the past. The drafting phase wasn't too long either. I wrote the book in about 4 months, but then came the editing, and that part took a lot of time. Even though I wrote the book 3 years ago, I still occasionally return to tweak things, especially world building, some elements and naming choices. So right now, for example, I work on a fantasy sea adventure. It's a book with some gothic and mystic elements like a gold ship, a cursed treasure and stuff. So I've been working on this book for 2 years now, and I spent about half of this time on preparation, like reading about sea terms, looking through historical books, for some ship descriptions, scrolling through different websites and forums, picking up shanties, and just trying to catch the spirit of the story. And that's not even counting the fictional literature that I've read, like Robert Louis Stevenson, Frederick Marryat, and so on and so forth. The first part is the preparation phase. The whole idea of it is not to prepare a 100% accurate lore, all arcs, plot, setting, and history, but to catch general feeling. Like what I want to write about, how am I going to write about it, and also get to know my characters, who is going to take part in the journey, and what do I know about them. Also collect some historical or any other info which is needed for my story. Look at this stage as a sandbox that you create. As I mentioned in the first video, some of these elements may change over time. It is just a starting point that I take in order to understand where to move. So let's talk about each point separately. What do I want to write about? That is the first question that comes to my mind before I even start working on a book. Honestly, I already know the answers to the question in my next at least maybe 2 or 3 books because they happen in the same universe and are somehow interconnected with the same characters, some story. So it's not a non-linear narration, and it helps me to complete the whole universe, or at least part of this universe and its lore. So the question is what I want to write about. It is not always I want to read a story about the orphan boy who became chosen a wizard by some mysterious powers and and now needs to take his kingdom from his wicked uncle. Usually it's more simple like, oh, it would be lovely to read something about pirates, or what if there was a world with disappearing magic and two witch sisters have to make their living by working in a traveling theater. By the way, these two have finally became my books, so let me know if you want to know more about them. You should also understand the tools, and by tools I mean different stuff. Is it going to be a long story or a short one? What form of the narration, like POV, I will have? What are the beats of the story? Is it a hero's journey or three-act structure story? Like, different stories need different tools. And it can be map preparation, organizing a board with a timeline and mirror, or it can require you to deep dive into references and material studying. Sometimes I'm not exactly sure which tools I'm going to use, and in this case I go to knowing my characters. I like meeting the heroes of my stories. Every time is always different, and some characters are willingly opening themselves. They are willing to tell their story, but some are too reserved, and I have to spend quite a while in order to crack their nutshell. A good example of this is the main character of my book Magic Bonds, Lily. She's an elder sister and a witch with quite modest magic abilities. At the time of this story, she was like 16, and well, you know how teenagers are at that age, and it was quite hard for me to understand what really bothers her and why she wants to get real magic so desperately. And I could discover her true intentions when I was already like halfway through my book. And in the beginning of the story, she was moved by this strong desire because she was sure that having real magic abilities will solve all her problems. And when she gets them, well, the truth is always more complicated than you could imagine. She realizes that her true desire always was and is to protect herself and her younger sister from the cruelty of that world. So I guess that's how we arrive to the second part of this process, drafting. Drafting. How much fun and suffering can hide in that one word, right? Drafting is the biggest part of the whole writing process, because this is where you take all the elements you've prepared beforehand and actually create your story. I don't really have the blank page problem, honestly. My issue is writing speed, because I'd like to write more books and long ones too, but for now I'm just not as productive as I'd like to be. And quick disclaimer, this is just my personal opinion, okay? So some writers have only ever written 3 or 1 book in their whole career, so there is no universal rule how much you need to write. The main goal of drafting is simple. Make a raw version of your book. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to exist. Remember this, but here's the problem. Whether you want it or not, that little critic in your head will start screaming about how bad your draft looks. And that voice can be unbearable. It shouts, it nitpicks, it dumps negative comments all over your work, which is exactly what you don't need when you're just starting. The best thing you can do is mentally slap some duct tape over its mouth and just write. How long does drafting take? It really depends on the book. For me, it's usually like 6 to 12 months for like 70,000 word book right now, though I've been working on one for 2 years, and it will be like 80,000 words, sorry. The only real objective here is to finish book. If you want to write seriously, you need a routine, but routines look different for everyone. Probably heard the advice to like write every day. And sure, for some people that works. But if you're just starting, it can easily be too much and lead to burnout. And then, well, you'll probably drop the book before you finish. And, well, that's why I like Brandon Sanderson's advice, like to aim at least 2,000 words per week. When I'm in active writing mode, I usually do about like 1,000 words a day plus, well, maybe another 1,000 for YouTube scripts and stuff. So sometimes more, sometimes less. I actually don't obsess over the number. It's just like a rough target. So I even used to have a calendar in Notion where I tracked down my progress. It was a sort of motivation for me to move forward. So the most important in this sense is consistency. I will be honest with you, I cannot write every day. No. My weekly regime usually varies from like 3 to 5 writing days, depending on how hard the week is. So you need to adapt your writing to the routine you have. It's not like the same writing when you just study and write as when you have like a job, a family to care for and writing. So the same comes with writing hours. It's always good to have a more or less established writing hours because discipline is the crucial point in writing, and the better you implement it, the better it will work for you. When the first draft is finished, I usually take a break of like 1 week before starting the next milestone. Edit. This milestone is the essence of suffering. I hate editing with all my writing soul, but that is the time when the critic untapes his mouth and takes everything in their hands. Like editing is like doing cardio exercises. You may not like it, but if you want your book to take a better shape, you'll have to do it anyway. So at this stage, your main goal is to polish all imperfections, sharpen every detail, and load every gun. So it usually takes me like 2, maybe 3 times to edit my book before I give it to my beta readers. The first time I just read it out and mark all the big mistakes and problematic parts of the text. It includes plot structure, general logic, characters, arcs, pacing. So after reading that out, I correct all these things and read the novel one more time. So here I double check the corrected mistakes and also mark some language problems like stylistics, grammar, also check synonyms and word meanings, so spelling also, and etc. So this is like more precise work because as at that moment I don't look at the character arcs or so-called big things, but carefully read out each word and sentence. At this point, I hate my writing so much you even can't imagine. I mean, I just want to close the file with the text and never open it again. But, well, reading your text out can be extremely boring. But I pull myself together for one more round, which includes like typos and misspellings. So honestly, you probably can avoid so many steps, but I don't have an editor and corrector, so I want to be sure that at least I did everything I could for my book. Finally, the suffering is over, so I can show the book to my beta readers. These are my family and a couple of friends. Giving your book to the first readers is never easy. You've spent so many months or years on it, so you've put all your sweat and blood into it. So choose wisely your beta readers. They should be people who you are sure will be gentle with their feedback, or whose opinion means a lot to you. Be sure also to prepare your questions and listen carefully. This is the advice both for writers, by the way, and game developers. Don't listen to what people say, but listen to how they say it. I mean, person A can say like, oh, I like this character, but I don't understand his behavior in that scene. And person B will say about the same character in the same scene that he's like flat and boring or stupid and his actions in that scene were not clear. So everybody has their own opinion, but don't listen to all of what people say. The paradox is that if you try to create a book that everybody will like, nobody will like it at all. So listen to your intuition and take the advice that you find valuable for your book. But of course, if everybody is saying that they didn't understand why your character suddenly changed his plans, maybe you should better check that scene one more time. So this is it, like 20% preparation, 60% for road drafting, 20% for editing, and of course 1% of having rest. So this scheme helps me to stay productive without burning out or like stressing out too much. Working on the book or your universe or your game takes a lot of time. So as soon as you find the most comfortable scheme or regime for you, more effective and fun will be the whole process. At the end of the day, seeing your creation is pretty cool, but the process of making it is what makes it unique and creates an unforgettable experience. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed my working routine, feel free to like, subscribe, or share your own approaches in the comments. And thanks for watching and happy writing.